Blues fans, this one is huge. You've got the chance to win a piece of Birmingham City history. We are giving away a sign and frame 24-25 Lukas Jutkiewicz home shirt signed by the whole squad, including the signature of Tom Wagner himself. Tickets are just £5 and can be purchased on our raffle page. To enter, follow the link in our bio, answer the question correctly and purchase your tickets to be in the draw. Entry closes 8th of August at 6 p.m. and the winner will be announced after full time of the opening game of the season. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in our bio to enter now.
This video is proudly supported by RM Risk Management, providing a comprehensive range of services tailored to UK property managers. Visit rmriskmanagement.co.uk to ensure a secure tomorrow. Welcome back to the Blues Focus podcast for the 2025-26 season with me, Tommy Kelsall, and Sam Sheppy. Good evening, mate. How are we?
Good evening. Nice to be back after, the longest 3 months ever, I think, from the Cambridge game to now kicking off against Ipswich. Yeah. And really looking forward to this season. I think that's been an overarching theme, isn't it, of like the Knighthead era, actually looking forward to season starting with like some ambition of where we're going to finish,
100%, man. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting season to say the least. Obviously, in today's episode, we will be talking about the pre-season that's just been and gone. Me and Jack headed all the way out to Portugal to watch us play Seville. Fantastic video if you haven't all watched it, if I may say so myself. Also as well, we've also been to the Port Vale and Forest games. The kits have been released and also the fixtures are coming out. We've got Ipswich this Friday, but firstly, should probably talk a bit about the Amazon Prime documentary that we've got coming out, we have out, I should say. Obviously, me and you, Sam, we've watched all 5 episodes now. It is a work of art, to say the least. I mean, like, it's incredible to consider, like, just the fact that we are at this stage to have a documentary made about us and it not be like a bit of a piss take one. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like the first season of Sunderland Till I Die, is it? It's like a proper, well-executed documentary with proper people involved. I mean, like, the class and everything of it, it's just, it's out of this world, really. And to consider that's actually got Blues' name to it, it's unbelievable.
Because I think, as you said, like, if we would have had this documentary made under the previous regime, it would have just been an absolute
regime as well.
Like it would have actually given us some insight into the chaos that was unfolding there. But while I'd say there was maybe a bit of chaos in episode 1 with the whole Wayne Rooney appointment backfiring on us and having to adapt from then and then getting relegated and then having those episodes that covered the League One season, which showed real progression in the way that we fought as a club, on the pitch and off the pitch, giving that extra yard and like all the stuff that Tom Brady says. And I feel like it's clever in the way that they structured it as well, because they have the sections that do focus on Tom Brady for that audience that we're trying to get in. But then I also think there's a lot of it that serves for the older fans, the fans that have always been there and the ones that know about the history of the club and, all the stuff that's been happening with, like, obviously they've got the Peaky Blinders outlay and that, haven't they, with some clips they've used, which I'm surprised they used actually, considering that's a Netflix thing. But yeah, they've done that. And like the Stephen Knight stuff, giving context to like the FA Cup and the stuff. I feel like that game against Newcastle, they depicted that was really good. That's one of the things I enjoyed about it the most.
Yeah, I think Stephen Knight was the perfect illustrator of the whole sort of thing, really. He just narrates it perfectly. And because obviously he's a fantastic screenwriter as well, he describes things in a really cinematic way. So it sets the scene perfectly, really. So I think everything about it, all the people they spoke to, they had the hardcore Zulus and some of the more new guys as well, who, shout out to Brummy Joe, representing the vlogging scene very well. Thought he came across very well. And of course, all the owners and everything as well, like, it was quite nice to learn a bit about Tom Wagner as well. I mean, I'd kind of known that he was a bit of a Wall Street sort of trader, but like, I didn't really know much else about him. So it was nice to just get a little bit about him. But yeah, I like you said, it's like a kind of a perfect blend, really, of some of the traditional stuff that Blues has, and then sort of the modern stuff that's happening as well. But yeah, it was brilliant. Obviously, the first episode, as you said, does break down some of the troubles that they run into in that first season. I mean, it's kind of obvious in hindsight now, but it just looks like such a mess, doesn't it? Because obviously Wayne Rooney gets appointed in October, John Eustace goes out the door, and everything just falls apart from there on out. And probably, I think at the time we probably should have known that the writing was on the wall, because we'd been in that situation before, and then everything falls apart. In a changing environment as well, when people have got different ideas of how to run things. I think we probably should have maybe expected the worst a little bit sooner. Some people probably were, But yeah, I mean, like, there's a couple of telling signs really in that first episode, because they do the whole season in that first episode. They in the fourth to the no, sorry, the second to the fifth episode, they sort of spread it out a little bit more. Which I mean, like, that first episode, there's so much in it, but yeah, there's just what you can really tell from the whole thing. Really, is just, I think, how much Brady and Wagner were just disappointed in Rooney, really, because they brought him in thinking that this is going to sort of amplify the sort of the products of the club and everything, and in the end, it did the complete opposite.
Well, I think we know as fans as well, like the main person responsible for bringing Wayne Rooney in was Gary Cook, and we didn't get his side of the story as to why he appointed Rooney. I feel like that would have been a real like golden one to be able to like get a bit of insight from him around his thinking, because I know that he tried to get him over to Saudi Arabia when Gary Cook was CEO of the Saudi League and Rooney was looking for managerial work, and that didn't come to fruition. Then this project come along at Birmingham, and yes, obviously face value, the player amazing, but managerial wise, not so much. And yeah, we did plummet down the table. And I feel like there's that conversation wasn't there at the training ground between Brady and Rooney, where Brady said he was up at like 6 a.m. doing like training, and then Rooney says
that's the one,
9 o'clock, and just the difference in work ethic. And there was the stuff that was going around Twitter, wasn't there, where they were saying that, oh, here are the days where someone in American football is giving someone in our football like advice or whatever. But I feel like that was missing the bigger point, where Brady was purely talking about like work ethic and what it takes to be elite in a sport. And you don't strictly have to be in football or soccer to be able to give some insight into how to work hard and how to reap the rewards of putting the hard yards in. And we've seen it before. Like there have been people that have crossed over from different sports. I remember reading the books talking about Sir Alex Ferguson helping out with the Ryder Cup team, the European Ryder Cup team in 2014, about how to work together as a team and everyone doing their different jobs and that. And there's been plenty of examples in it in the past where like sports psychologists, say, for instance, go across different sports and raise the game of the players that they're talking to. So I think the people that are criticising Tom Brady because of his involvement in football are kind of missing the point. Like it's purely to do with like work ethic and putting those hard yards in. And I don't think anybody in sport, especially in American sport, has done it better than Tom Brady, hence his 7 Super Bowl wins.
I think because he's involved in sports as well, isn't it? You see like Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, they're just sort of investors, and they haven't got the expertise of someone like Brady, who's, won so many Super Bowls and been an absolute top athlete from a very young age, and still is. I mean, the guy's in his 40s now, and he's always like doing exercises and everything. He keeps cutting back a couple of times, to like when he's in America, when Blues are playing. He is out on the beach with his kids and keeping active and everything. So, I mean, like the mind, like you say, like the work ethic, I mean, it's just so obvious as well. Like, I don't want to dig Rooney out too much because I feel like it's an easy target. But even still, like when you see them stood side by side and you got Rooney sort of slouched and sort of looking a bit overweight, and then you got Brady who's really tall and lean and really very strong physique. It's just like the comparisons, honestly, I'd have preferred to have Tom Brady in charge of that season, honestly. Like, why did we ever think that Wayne Rooney, off the back of his track record, would ever have been a good thing? But yeah, anyway, we won't talk too much about Rooney because obviously the season that follows obviously is an absolute a monumental success, as they do say so in the 5th episode. But we should stick to the 2nd episode because I mean that one probably kind of is my favourite one, actually, because we get to learn a bit about Chris Davis, who, by the way, I didn't even know this, but honestly, he is such a hardened sort of bloke, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't quite describe it in a very
he's like head teacher
way.
Vibes,
he does,
like, where like he's very firm in the way that he speaks and that. And you could see like some managers in the press, they have like a bit of a soft side or whatever, but Chris Davis just sort of completely switched on like all the time. And they said in the documentary that there was a long recruitment process. They spoke to many different managers and they knew straight away that Chris Davis was the one that they wanted to bring in. And I feel like this mentality was a big tick for Wagner and Brady to say that this is the right guy, someone with discipline, but also the way that he speaks, you want to run through brick walls for him. That there's different speeches that he'd done like after games or before games to like get the players revved up for it. And yeah, for someone that is as young as Chris Davis in managerial terms, I feel like he's got such a good future ahead of him, and we're definitely in good hands.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, like they said this at the awards. This isn't in the documentaries, but Tom Wagner says at the end of his speech at the awards, he was just saying, I'm so glad that the Zoom call that we had 12 months ago was a really good one, and I'm so glad that we put you in charge. You've definitely been the best manager to appoint for this job. And honestly, I was having this conversation with my dad the other day, and I was trying to sort of word it without trying to sound a bit too over the top about it. But like, I was basically saying to him, like, I do think he is my favourite ever Blues manager. And like, that's saying something considering how long I've supported them. I mean, like, Alex McLeish probably still has to be our greatest successful manager because obviously winning the League Cup with us was a massive success. But I think, honestly, out of the character and the mentality and just the way that he's got us working as well, and like the fact that we look so confident now, and all the players who some of the players had come down from that relegated team, like Keshi Anderson and Ethan Laird, whose confidence was shot to pieces by the end of that season. And like you look at them now when we played Forest on was it the weekend, like Anderson's doing step overs and like nutmegs and everything. Ethan Laird's got on in the second half and bombing up and down the right hand side. Yeah, like the way he's changed things in such a short amount of time, it's just like, wow, honestly, I love everything about him. He's a top professional. He speaks brilliantly, like you said, and he knows his stuff as well. And he really matters as well when he really cares about it. You know what I mean? So when he's getting really frustrated in the dressing room, he's telling the cameras to fuck off after the Wrexham game and everything, screaming on the sides and everything. I mean, like, obviously, when I'm at the games, I'm just sort of watching the game, not really focusing on Davis. But I was like, wow, like he really, really cares about this club, doesn't he? And like cares like so much about doing things right in the correct way and everything. And like one of the smaller things actually, but like his like preparation for his presentations when he does it to his players and everything. Which I mean, I've seen a few sort of football managers' presentations, and they're always like really shit and that sort of thing. It's mostly on those sort of VO camera things, and it's like pausing it and everything. It's really slow. Everyone's dead quiet in there. But I can imagine, like with Davis's presentations, he's comparing different things. At one point, he's talking about some of the mountain climbers climbing up Everest. He's talking about like the mentality would to be to get through that and everything. So it's gripping stuff. Imagine that as your boss. Do you know what I mean? Like working for him, you must feel like this is brilliant. This is a brilliant life to live. Do you know what I mean? Like it's hard. I can definitely imagine it's a tough job to have as players, but it must be so rewarding as well. That sort of environment, and credit to him because he had a monster of a task to figure out after last season.
Yeah, and going back to that Wrexham game actually, where he was fuming at the cameras after the game, and there was that whole theme around the game where they were going into it wanting to win, and thinking that 3 points to distance ourselves from the chasing pack would be the best thing. And I remember after that game when we got a point, thinking like that was actually a decent point because they were the better team in the game. But still, they were just fuming with it because they set their bar so high and their standards so high that they wanted to beat Wrexham and go clear of them before we ended up, going clear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember me and Jack were doing that live stream for that game, which obviously we couldn't get tickets for, but Dad managed to get some tickets in the home end out of absolutely nowhere. And I remember at the time, like me and Jack were absolutely fuming with it. We were really frustrated. We didn't play well in the first half. We got a goal back. It was a bit of a scrappy goal through Lyndon Dykes. I remember thinking at the time, God, I'm really frustrated. I really want to win. Feel like we've missed an opportunity there. And then my dad comes on the stream and after a bit and says, sort of talks about us and says like, 1-1's a good result and everything. They're difficult sides come away there and everything, get a point. So, fair play. But then you go and watch that documentary and that scene, it's like, oh no, I think we were actually on the same sort of page of what Davis was sort of feeling, and Wagner clearly, honestly, and Stephen Knight was stood in the crowd at that game as well. But like, they want to win everything at all costs, and I love that about them, because it kind of backs up my point while I was so frustrated with that game, but two as well, like, why wouldn't you want to win that game? It's like we'll settle for a point. I suppose so because you don't lose, but also at the same time you still want to win, don't you? So I feel like that frustration, like it's a good motivator, it's a good driver. And Davis says that not too long after that in the documentary. He says, sometimes you can't be all soft and, never mind, we'll sort of go again sort of mentality. We've got to be like, when players don't perform to what their expectations are, sometimes you've got to give them a bit of a bollocking. And I can't even imagine like how he'd done that if he's telling the cameraman to fuck off. I mean, like, what's the cameraman done? It's just like, so
Yeah, he walked out of the change room and he just had like the camera face down, didn't he? You
poor
can
guy,
imagine like he's
honestly.
face down as well.
Oh man, that must be a tough job at the best of times. I mean, he says it a couple of times, like to get the cameras off, but that one was like you could tell he was fuming after that. And it's I'd probably back Davis up though because like sort of the heat of the moment stuff, isn't it? And sometimes we do things in that heat of the moment where we're not too we're a bit hot under the collar and everything. But yeah, I think the residing factors of that sort of documentary because the third and fourth and fifth episodes just sort of talk about some of the games really. There's a nice bit about Alfie May, but I think the residing factors really about the main characters and the whole documentary is that great bond I think that Davis and Brady really have. You know, it just works. You know, like they're two very driven people, and Davis in particular, I think, because he's such a likable but really tough leader as well at the same time. I think Brady sees a lot in him in that way. I think he really, really respects him in that way as well. Because I think it's always interesting to see, because obviously he never had much of a playing career. So sometimes coaches can come into it and have a bit of a not really a great understanding, but like you look at Davis's resume and like he's worked with Brendan Rodgers, he's worked with Ange Postecoglou, he's been at Celtic and Liverpool and Reading and Swansea, like all over the place and all over the country. Like you can see why he knows his stuff. You know, he's just done it since he pretty much decided he was going to do it. You know what I mean? It's like he's not messing around with that sort of stuff.
And I think the contrast as well in mood from like the Championship to League One is that when we're in the Championship, I felt like we're a bit of a soft team. You know, there was a lot of times where if we conceded the first goal, we'd go on to lose a game, or if we got in a winning position, it'd be so often like under jeopardy. And the amount of late goals we conceded in the running in the Championship is ultimately what got us relegated. But there's such character in that League One team, and I'm sure there's a statistic actually that says that we got the most points from losing positions actually in League One. And it was just it wasn't that we were losing many times, just that when we were, we just went on to win the games. So it's just that shift in mentality that I think has been so good. And you can see in this documentary how that's come to fruition with the way that Chris Davis speaks to his players and the standards that they set. And, even like Tom Brady quotes where he says, you win the games when you're training, not when you're playing. You got to put in the effort in training to then make the play and actually not feel as bad. And there's just lots of different quotes that I take from it. And like Chris Davis as well in the fourth episode, when he was saying like about not taking any shortcuts. And I feel that's what the real elite managers do. And with Chris Davis' background, being at Swansea and being an analyst to start off with, and pretty much having every role at a club until now he got to the point as manager, and the years and years of working behind the scenes, you can tell he's a real like stickler for detail. And I feel like I can tell that in the way that he operated last season, where there was no stone really left unturned. I very rarely looked at a 90 minutes in a game and gone, oh, he didn't quite predict what was going to happen there. I feel like each game he had his plan that he set out. And yes, sometimes it didn't work, but the times that it did, it worked really well.
Yeah, nail on the head there, mate. Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I just appreciate it so much after so many years of managers who feel like they've just been winging it. You know what I mean? It's like they've come in and they've sort of done a half-assed job, and then Davis is like weeks ahead of everybody else. Like in that that League One season, you could tell that he'd done his research and he's got his team to work on that for weeks on end. Honestly, I mean, like there were certain games where we didn't even win by a particular amount. It wasn't like we were thumping teams every week, but we were so in control in so many games. And obviously, the quality difference was a bit of a jarring comparison. But even still, like there are big teams that in that League One where they can slip up and they can have problems. Even against teams that are towards the bottom of the table. And yet we managed everything really, really well. I mean, it shows obviously with the amount of points that we had, and the amount of losses the few amount of losses that we had as well. We only lost 3 games all season, and they were pretty, sort of like one-off ones really. I mean, they came at sort of certain times in the season as well, didn't they? Because like we had Charlton where we had a bit of a turnover in the team, trying that Ulsop out in the first game. And then we had Shrewsbury that was just like after a big long run of games, No, sorry, actually it wasn't, because I think that was the Bolton one, actually. It was at the end of the big run of games. And then Shrewsbury was just after an international break and probably heading into another one because that was that weird time of the season. But yeah, I think everything about Davis in this documentary just comes across as your absolute ideal manager. I feel like if you were to create an ideal manager before the start of last season and be like, right, what do you want? You want a strong mentality. You want someone who's going to work the players hard, but knows what he's doing. He's got the tactics and he's got the experience to prove it and everything. He's got a good resume. Not entirely known, so not everybody's going to be, putting loads of pressure on his back. Someone like a Wayne Rooney and everything. He's charismatic. He's really strong with the players. He creates a great bond and everything. Really good with the fans and everything. That person is just Chris Davis, isn't he? He's got every single little asset about him that just makes him our perfect manager. And the fans absolutely love success at Blues, as well, because we're not very used to it. So, yeah, long may it continue. It's an absolutely fantastic documentary, and we feature in it as well. It's absolutely brilliant to see that. Mr. Sam Sheppey in particular has a bit of a star role in that second episode before the Wrexham game. It is very good to see.
Yeah, it was the Wrexham game and the Reading game, like where like, the players were warming up, and then it was like me speaking on a match preview, and it cuts to the players, then it cuts to Tom Brady, and I'm like,
I know. Sharing the screen with Tom Brady, it's brilliant.
And I had like the subtitles on, and it said like Sheppey in brackets as well, and I was like, oh, they've actually like put my name in there as well, because I thought it would be like journalist 4 or like journalist 5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they did do that at some points, didn't they? I mean, like, I didn't get much of a feature in it, but I was just glad to be in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't.
Season 2, Tommy. Season 2.
Season 2. That's where it's coming at. Yes, definitely. Hopefully, we can get a bit more in that. But yeah, it was fantastic to see. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really, obviously, no, it's not a big thing to be featured in it. I was just more interested in seeing about the documentary. But it's just funny when you see like people just suddenly appear in like the screen. It's just like, there's my dad. He's just talking about how rubbish the season's been and everything. And then you got Jack and then me celebrating the Norwich game. And then obviously you come in the second, and a bit of the third episode, I think it is. I can't remember.
I think it was the 4th against Newcastle, where
yes, that's it. Yeah,
a bit of that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like we've been in touch with the people who've made the documentary. Who, again, shout out, amazing stuff. I mean, like a body of work to work through. I can imagine as well as a video editor myself. It's just like, where do you even start with something like that? Honestly, you got to kind of have a bit of a chronological order to it, but also at the same time, kind of knowing when to, because they skip a lot of the games as well. They sort of tell the story along in that way. But yeah, God, it must just be a bit of a difficult task really to start with. I wouldn't know how you do it, to be honest. But yeah, amazing to feature in it. Amazing to have so many people that I appreciate as well in it as well. It's fantastic. Obviously, I mean, like the whole vibe of the club, and obviously heading into Friday nights, it's just it's a completely different feeling now. I mean, obviously when you first joined, it was obviously the start of that whole era under Knighthead. So like, only in like 2 seasons really, and everything's just completely changed. It's very bizarre. But yeah, we should probably talk a little bit about some of the preseason games. Overall, how do you think we've gotten on into preseason this season? I've said season too many times.
Yeah, no, I think it's been good. The way that we had our preseason in League One, I think in that preseason there was like perhaps more tougher games where we had like West Brom and then Rangers, didn't we? Kind of like the back-to-back games, I think, and we won both of them. Whereas this preseason, it's been a bit mixed in the fact that we had Sevilla like right at the start, and then we had Nottingham Forest right at the end, and then a couple like League One, League Two teams in between. And we had that preseason where we had like the 2 teams split, didn't we? So we had like teams that have, say, for instance, gone to Burton, and then one's gone to Northampton or whatever. And I'm not sure if I like that style. I kind of just like it to be, the people that are involved in the first team be the ones that are trying to get the most minutes, like all together as well. But yeah, that to be honest, that's kind of nitpicking, because like the games where the first team has featured, I think we've looked really good. The Nottingham Forest game 1-0 really restricted them to limited chances, and it was only really right at the end where Chris Wood had that one, didn't he, where he just shot it straight at Allsop. That was like their main threat. But yeah, I think we've done really well defensively to be able to shut them out, and also have that bit of movement up front as well, with Jay Stansford getting the goal and Tommy Doyle with a nice pass as well. And it looks like he's going to be playing a bit further forward, because we didn't know when he signed whether he was going to be a holding midfielder or further forward. But my feeling now is that he's going to play further forward, especially with that number 7 shirt number, which is a bit dodgy for someone that plays in the centre of the pitch. But yeah, that's your domain, Tommy, isn't it?
Yeah, I prefer a bit of obviously within the modern world of football, things move so quickly. But I do prefer a bit of traditionalism, particularly with Blues as well, because obviously we've got such a long-standing fan base. It hasn't been sort of watered out like some London clubs have. Where they've just sort of been like tourist fans almost. But like I kind of prefer it when we having like number 7 as one of your wingers numbers. your 10 and your 9 as your main striker numbers and everything. But yeah, I'm not too fussed about it. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes those traditions change. Because I would probably say that number 4 is more of a centre back's number nowadays. Just through seeing like people like Clara, you wouldn't suddenly see like, yeah, he needs number 6. It's like, nah, that
What
doesn't
about
seem quite
41
right.
captain?
Yeah, I don't know why that is actually. I understand why Jay is number 28 now, obviously, because Adam Stansford did wear 28 for Exeter a couple of times. But also he did wear number 9, but there again, if he wants to keep 28, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, it was I mean, like, obviously, like you mentioned Tommy Doyle there, who's someone I'm really looking forward to. I mean, like that's a signing that I think is probably going to get a bit overlooked before the start of the season because obviously he's a midfielder, isn't he? And everyone always focuses on the attackers, and it's because they'll bring all the flair and all the excitement. And people are going to be focusing on Gray and everyone like that and Stansfield. But Tommy Doyle, that midfield, honestly, I mean, like they're on my team and they scare me. It's amazing, honestly. Like you're saying, that he's playing slightly forward with Paik and Iwata sort of sitting, but then Paik is just. I honestly, this preseason, I don't think I've not seen him win a tackle. Like he's just every single thing that he goes towards, goes in, gets the ball, comes away, plays it out. It's just like he could do that in his sleep. I'm absolutely certain of it. You know, he's just like blindfold him, handcuff him, pull his teeth out, whatever. He'll be absolutely doing it every single day of the week. Honestly, he's just that job that he does in that midfield is just perfect, and he's nailed it down to a T. And Iwata brings some of the strength of it as well. And Tommy Doyle's got some feistiness in him as well. To be fair, so like. Yeah, that midfield I think is going to unlock a lot of the problems we've had in previous seasons, definitely in front of goal. I mean, like the little pass inside from Doyle for the goal at the weekend for Stansfield, that's just wonderful, honestly. I mean, all the other stuff as well, like, you know, obviously we travelled thousands of miles, me and Jack, again this season to go on the pre-season tour and everything. And the game, again, like, it just rounded off a fantastic week. You know, we were so good. So it's just the way that we control the ball this season is different from last season because in like last season we had like a bit more of a I suppose we were a bit slower because we just decided to sort of slow the game down. You know, the opposition can't handle us for this amount of time. But it's obviously had to put that up for this season because we're playing against much harder teams this season. And I think with that, just on the confidence, I was talking about Keshi Anderson earlier, who again I've said this many times already on the vlog this season, but he just continues to surprise me. You know, he's like one of those players who he's getting on a bit. You know, he's sort of in his early 30s now, and particularly with sort of how modern football is in particular, you want to be prioritising that sort of age band from like 23 to 27. He's like early 30s now, and he didn't have the most amazing season when he first joined us, but honestly, like he continues to surprise me. You know, he's getting more confident. You know, he takes players on. He's quick. He's agile. He can, you know, get in behind and everything. And just trying different things as well. You know, and take shots on as well. I was forever bemoaning at him, honestly, in that first season for just taking on some fucking shots, honestly. But now he's like pinging them off everywhere. It's like it's great to see, honestly. Like when everybody's confidence levels are high, it's like it takes a lot to try and knock him off that pedestal, you know. So like Davis has got obviously a great formula, as the documentary very well displays. You know, it's just a working treat, really. I mean, every single position on the pitch, I'm confident with. I don't think I've looked at a single bit of the pitch and thought a little bit shaky there. I think everybody on the pitch looks brilliant. You know, even when Bielik comes on, you know, I feel like with the standard that Neumann and Clara set this season, even when you do bring on Bielik or Cashin, they look fine. They look absolutely solid, you know. So I'm really looking forward to the season. And obviously, like, you know, like with all the different signings that are coming, rumoured to be coming in, obviously Chuba Akpom. By the time this goes out, actually, we probably should say we're recording this on the Tuesday night. So it might have already happened by the time tomorrow night comes out. Obviously, like the documentary talks about, it's one thing we can talk about, actually, the when Jay signs in the very last minutes, which is brilliant to see, actually.
Frank Garner's absolutely bricking it, isn't he?
He is so nervous. I've never seen him so nervous.
Dale, poor Dale.
I saw down there.
He just wants to do a social media post, and Craig Garner said, "You're going to ruin the whole thing."
Oh man, yeah. I saw Dale Moon's post on Twitter earlier, and he what did he put? I think he put I've only got thanks Whisper Productions. Only got 3 mentions in the whole documentary, and one of them was having like some sort of weird "Hello, Jay" sort of thing like that at one point. It's like, poor Dale, he's been there for years.
It
But
was Chris
no,
Davis having a go at him in the training ground to turn
yeah,
the
that's
camera,
it.
and then it was Craig Gardner having a go at him in the offices at deadline day.
Oh God, it's a bit of a thankless draw sometimes, but no. But shout out to Dale, by the way. Great guy and everything. But yeah, honestly, like, there's still obviously transfer is probably going to happen at the end of the window. What day does it close this year?
Well, it's a few days into like September, I think it is, like around about September
Really?
time. So yeah, it's a long time, and like I know it's like 5-6 games of the championship season that passed by the time the window shuts. So like also the fact that we've got Ipswich on the opening day where they're going to probably have players which they won't have in 2 months' time.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just the
true.
nature of it all.
That's another thing I forgot to mention as well. Like the starting team in that Reading game is like they obviously they talk about this Wagner and Brady on the phone. Like they've still got lots of changes to make and they've still got lots of players to get in and everything. But that team, honestly, I might bring it up actually, but that team is
Mm.
so different in that Reading game to the one at the end of the season because
Yeah.
we've got players like Dembele and those type of players. I'll try and bring it up now.
Yeah, I mean, to think of it off the top of my head, we had like obviously Peacock, Farrell in goal, Sanderson and Bielik as the two centre backs.
That's true, exactly.
Mark
It's so
Leonard was
different.
quite in the game.
So we've
Hansen,
had
and
We
like
had Peacock
Miyoshi.
Farrell in goal. Yeah, we had Peacock Farrell in goal. Laird, Bielik, Sanderson, and Cochrane. Leonard and Paik sitting. Miyoshi, Williamson, Dembele, and May. I mean, like, how different is that to the last game of the season? You know, there's no
Yeah.
Clara in that team. There's no Iwata, no Stansfield. You know, like that, like Allsop's on the bench. You know, like there were obviously still things to work out, and there will still be things to work out, even if we beat Ipswich on Friday night, which I'm very confident in the fact that we will as well. To be fair. But like it's a work in progress this season. So like we just got to take it bit by bit, you know, because it wasn't the finished package this time last season when we played Reading. So there's going to be ups and downs, and there are going to be a
Yeah.
couple of sticky bits here and there with like whether we're going to get Akpom or whether we're not going to go for him at all. You know, who knows? You know, we might not. It might be the wise thing not to go for him in hindsight. It might be a good thing that we do buy him. You know, it might be a bad thing that we buy him. You know, it's endless of possibilities at the moment. So yeah, it'll just be interesting to find out really how everything goes. But heading into Friday night, how are we feeling?
Good. I would say that I'm optimistic, of course, because of all the noise that's been happening around us and all the media interest and the transfers that have happened. But ultimately, the most important thing is what happens on the pitch, right? And this is going to be a real test for us because if you were to face any team on the opening day, the toughest game would be Ipswich, wouldn't it? Because they are the bookmakers' favourites to win the league, having just come down from the Premier League as well in 18th place and keeping hold of the players that they have done, you know, such as Amari Hutchinson, Connor Chaplin, Jacob Greaves, Leif Davis. Like they've got a lot of quality in their team. And it's going to be a real tester for us. And it already is starting to give me those vibes of like the Newcastle game or even like the Wrexham game where it has that like big game feel to it, where you know there's going to be a lot of eyes, a lot of attention on it, especially because the Premier League's not started yet. So a lot of those, you know, fans that are looking for football to watch on a Friday night will just stumble across our game on Sky Sports and watch it. And they'll probably have an opinion formulated about us based on that game. So it's important for a lot of reasons. And I feel like it's important as well because it's going to go a long way in determining how we play football in the Championship, because can we play possession football like we did in League One against the calibre of opposition that's as good as Ipswich, or will we have to compromise our game slightly? Because we speak about like confidence there, but I think also what was good last season was bravery. I think we showed a lot of bravery in the team to be able to, you know, keep the ball the way that we did, not really crumble under pressure, because there are a lot of instances, you know, Allsop has the ball where you're kind of holding your breath, but then towards the end of the season, you're like, oh, it's Allsop, he's fine. He's not going to give the ball.
He's just going to have it, yeah.
So the bravery then resulted in us feeling more confident about the players. And with that Newcastle game, again, that was a game where we showed bravery, and Chris Davis said it in the documentary, you know, not giving him respect. And I feel like a similar team talk is going to happen for this Ipswich game, where it's like, yes, they are the bookmakers' favourites to win. Everybody's predicting Ipswich to win the league, but we don't give them respect. You know, when they come to St Andrews, they're going to have to scrap for these 3 points and fight as hard as they can. And with that record that we've got in the league, I believe, you know, capacity crowds were unbeaten in a year and a half in the league. So it shows that when we build this hostile atmosphere, when we put players under pressure, and when all of it comes together, it's a really tough proposition to be able to beat us. So really looking forward to the game.
Yeah, I've just looked actually. The last time we lost at home was on April 10th, 2024. That is mental, honestly. That is absolutely insane, that is. Like, is that like that's a whole year, isn't it? A whole year
Yeah.
without losing at home. That's incredible. I mean, obviously, it will happen at some point when we do lose.
We've lost, like, say, for instance, in the cup games and that, but in the league, it's been a long time. And also, like, the way that I think that championship season, the sellouts that we had, you think about the Coventry game or like Sunderland or like Preston, Norwich, games that we won, that we were playing against good opposition. Norwich ended up finishing in the playoffs, and we dominated them in that final game.
Yeah.
We got relegated.
Really did, yeah.
We still played really well. So it goes to show that even when we had a crap team, we still played well, and so much of that was down to the fans.
Exactly. I mean, like Tom Wagner has said many times, we have never lost under a sellout crowd. In the league, at least, I think that's right. Because obviously we lost to Newcastle in the cup, but still, like that's such a remarkable fact, isn't it? It just proves everything about that documentary is just bang on and accurate, really. Because I mean, slightly going back to it before talking a bit more about Ipswich, but I don't think they were trying to pander to anything as well. I don't think they were trying to sort of spoon feed it to like the American audience. Yeah, I feel like they were giving them the actual products of what Blues was, and what Brady was doing and what Chris Davis was as a manager. There was no point in the whole documentary did I look back at it and think that was a bit cheesy, or that didn't really represent us well. Like every little bit about it, to like some of the hardcore Zulus and like Cuddles and those type of people, and then you go back to like some of the regular goers, like Sam and those type of people, so like there was not at one point did I think it misrepresented us in any way. I just thought it's perfectly accurate, and it perfectly portrayed, I think, as well, when things go wrong. We're not afraid to voice our opinion on these things as well. Like there was no censorship of the swear words, which I'm a big fan of anyway. But also as well, they showed it. There were a fuckload of it, honestly. There's just absolutely shitloads of it. Which you'll be able to see more of if you subscribe to the Blues Focus channel. But yeah, like just every single little bit about it. Just I want to watch it again. I might watch it again later tonight actually, because I will do a bit of a bit more of an in-depth sort of review. Obviously being a bit of a filmmaker myself, I would like to do that. So I'll do a bit of a solo thing on that. But yeah, back on the Ipswich game, I think that we can treat that like a cup final, because we're catching Ipswich at a good time here because they're on the down and we're on the up. And I feel like that was kind of how it was with the Wrexham game, the home game, is that we were on the down at the time and they were on the up. But I just think that we had the better quality of players to win that game. But now I feel like with Blues and Ipswich, you could probably argue Ipswich have got the slightly better team, which is going to make it a really tough game. And obviously with Newcastle, as we found out last season, we had the home crowd and everything. We had the momentum and we were really up for it. And we were on the up, and Newcastle were on the up as well, to be fair. But we were on like a proper high at that point. So I feel like that they just sort of edged it with just having the slightly better players. So that might be the case on Friday night. But I think it's closer. I feel like we've got very similar squads almost, and I feel like with it being slightly in our favour, with it being at home and all the amazing sort of feel around the club, I feel we could just nick it, It's going to be tough, don't get me wrong, but I feel like there is an opportunity to nick something maybe on the break or something like that. I could see it being a bit similar to the Blues Leeds game, actually, the start of the season we got relegated in. I could see that, to be fair. It's not going to be the easiest game by a long stretch. But yeah, I could just see us winning it. I can't really see us losing it, if I'm being honest. And I know I said that about the Blues Peterborough in the Cup final last season.
We don't speak about that, Tommy. It never happened.
Yeah, I know. It never happened, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I feel really confident coming into this season, And even if it is a season that we don't get promoted in, I feel like we will really challenge this some of the top teams this season. And I think that's why I was saying, Ipswich, we've got them at the perfect time, on the first day of the season. We've got Southampton pretty soon after as well, haven't we?
I think it's Leicester that are in the first 6 fixtures.
That's it, yeah. So we're playing Leicester. Bear with me 1 second. Lost my page.
Sheffield United in the cup as well.
1 second. Yeah, so we've got Ipswich first game. Sheffield United, as you just said, in the cup as well. And then we've got Leicester on August 29th. Excuse me. And then when do we play? So we play Wrexham on October 3rd. That'd be interesting to see where they are in the league at that point. And then Southampton, we've got them. Oh, actually, it's in December, isn't it? Because we've got that. That's a bit of a weird month, that is. So we got Southampton at the start of December on the 6th, and then at the end on the 29th at home. So that's interesting. But yeah, there's some tough teams in this division. I mean, I was getting my haircut earlier today, and Jay, who shout out, great barber and everything, he was just saying like, I'd love to say that we're going to get promoted this season, but there's just something saying to me at the same time. Maybe it's my negative blue stuff, but like, I just feel like there's going to be someone else in our way, just at the very last second, you know. And I kind of get what he means now. Before I was sort of coming back into sort of, you know, focusing on the championship, I was like, is it that tough a division? When you look through some of the teams, though, they're like, oof, they look tough. They do. I mean, even some of the mid-table teams, actually, they just look a tough opposition team to go up against, particularly with like away games. You know, they're going to be really tough this season to sort of get a vibe on it and everything.
Because with the championship, the way that it works, like 3/4 of the team will say, "Oh, I think we can get top 6." And that is the nature of the championship, where it's just so unpredictable. And there's always one or two teams that emerge from nowhere that become playoff contenders. And you're like, where have they come from? You know, nobody put them to finish in the top 6. And they do. And the competitive nature of the championship shows with, you know, 2 seasons ago, relegating on 50 points. You know, that is a lot of points to be relegated on, and goes to show how tight the league is. And like, yeah, I think if we can have a good start and get that momentum going straight away, then that's going to feed into the rest of the season. And I feel like it'd be a good thing psychologically. I know Chris Davis says that he doesn't look at the table, but obviously the mood of the players will be impacted by the way that we perform on the pitch. And if they can see that what they were doing before is working again, then that will give them more confidence in doing what they're doing. And, you know, what I would say as well is that I'm sure most Blues fans will feel this and will do this, but let's stick by Chris Davis, okay? Like, if it doesn't go to plan in the first 6 games and we only win, 2 games out of the 6, yes, there's still a lot of moving parts there. You know, there are a lot of transfers that have come in that will take time to gel with the rest of the team. So there's a lot of moving parts. And what I would say is just, stick by the manager. Yeah. Because we don't want a season where we're chasing different appointments and, you know, try and
don't want a season like that fucking relegation season.
Yeah, like chase something that we already had. So what I'd say is trust the process. You know, we've seen now in the documentary what's happening behind the scenes and how much the players are buying into it all. So yeah, the season is a long season and it's arduous and there's a lot of tough games. But yeah, if we stick together as a unit, I'm sure we'll do something very good.
Davis is the man. Like, there's no other way about it anymore. You know, we've been down the road of, I mean, how many managers did we have in that season? It was about 5 or something like that.
I mean, if we're counting like caretakers.
Well, exactly. That's probably about 5 or 6, isn't it? It was a crazy number. Like, Davis is the man, you know, like he's proven it last season, you know, with like flying colours. And it's a nice sort of reminder, actually, that this season we can almost have like that sort of old-fashioned sort of football approach where, like, even if we don't perform to the highest of standards, there's no point sacking him and finding another manager because there is no better manager out there for us at the moment. There's not going to be another coach out there who shares the same enthusiasm as Tom Brady. He's got the same mindset and mentality. He's got better tactics, a better resume. You know, you have to find a fucking hard, longer list, that is. I'm sure they did interview very possible candidates to, you know, rival Chris Davis. But, like, if you've searched 100 candidates before signing him, you know, if we go on a bad run of form and then sack him, you know, we're going to go to 99. And then if that doesn't work, 98. You know, it's like football's a difficult game, and particularly in the Championship. The Championship's one of the, if not the toughest league in the world, in my opinion, because of just the nature of it. You know, it's so different from the rest of the football as well. Because there's a lot of frustration in it as well, and there's a huge goal at the end of it, you know, and a lot of teams will go bankrupt just to try and get themselves up, as we've seen a lot of teams do before. But, like, there's such a, you know, like when it comes to like losing a couple of games, like, it's not always the norm to go and sack your manager. And I know, obviously, this is like, it's saying to the board as if like they're planning on doing that, if that's the case. But obviously, it's just a good sort of indicator just to show that Davis is he's gonna be the man. You know what I mean? Like, that we're gonna get to the Premier League with this man. I'm absolutely certain of that.
As Tom Leicester says, he says, what is it? When, not if.
When, not if, exactly. Yeah, and I love that mindset. You know, because it's so what is it? What's the word? It's so contagious, that mentality. I love it, honestly. Like, we've been missing them. We've been absolutely crying out for it for so long. And watching all those episodes, I was like, I could take on the world. Honestly, it was amazing. That sort of buzz you got off of it.
It makes you proud to be a Blues fan.
It's so, honestly, yeah, the perfect way to describe it. That pride that, honestly, I've said that a couple of times actually, but like, they've given such pride back to Blues, obviously, because like, in the days where things were going shit and everything, I was like, do you want to wear your Blues shirt to the pub? No, of course I don't. Like, why would I even consider that? It's just a stupid thing to
With
do.
the badge that peels off and
Exactly, yeah.
and the
That's why everyone wore their
scratched
Wextra
up.
shirts. Exactly, fucking hell. But now, like, honestly, like, you wear that shirt around. We were in Birmingham earlier. The amount of people with blue shirts on, it's just incredible. Like, years ago, you'd never have seen that, honestly. Like, a couple of Wolves shirts and Villa shirts as usual, but like loads of blue shirts and everything. It's like the pride that Blues fans have got back now. They've won back so many fans as well, fans that, obviously money's tight, isn't it? So like, they've decided like, no, we're not going to bother. We'll just watch it at home and everything. And obviously that they've come back, haven't they? And like, to sell out pretty much every game last season at home, and then obviously 50,000 at Wembley. Like, if we'd have done that under previous seasons and under previous regimes, as you said as well, under BSHL, like, that would never have happened. If we were in the EFL Trophy final, we'd probably sold 30, maybe 35,000 at Wembley or whatever. Never have sold 50,000 under that much. It's just incredible, honestly. So like, the people have really got the mojo back for it now, and I feel like that's why this Ipswich game's come at the absolute perfect time, because it's a massive game to kick it off. Everyone's feeling the vibe, and we've got some great players in. I think we could catch them off guard, Ipswich. I mean, I'm definitely not saying it's not going to be a hard game, but also as well, I feel like the momentum's with us, really.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? Momentum. Like, I think that's, again, factors into a lot of people's predictions about Birmingham because of the season that we had and the way that we were winning games as well. There was a lot of clean sheets towards the end, and it's that defensive solidity that, for me, is like our main strength, because there was a bit of debate, wasn't there? Like, when we signed James Beadle, is he going to go straight in goal? Is it going to be Ryan Allsop? And it looks like it will be Allsop that starts against Ipswich. Like, I'm not completely ruling out that Beadle will feature for us in goal. I'm sure there'll be times where he does in the season, but I think what Allsop offers, like with his communication at the back and also like his passing range as well. Like, some of those passes that he pulls off, like from goal kicks or like off the floor,
incredible.
like, how does he do that? And like, I imagine as well, because next season will be a bit more of a counter-attacking team, we could really utilize that Allsop passing range.
I was about to say that, actually. That, honestly, I feel like that's a huge threat for opposition teams that we face this season. That ball over the top towards because you consider the wingers that we've got as well. Like, Gray's absolutely rapid. I know he had a chance against Nottingham Forest that he didn't quite get under control, but there'll be times in this season where he gets it perfectly under control. He's just away then, Stansfield's rapid as well, and so is Anderson as well. I mean, like, we've Allsop's got an assists from those passes before. Did he got one for Gardner Hickman last season with Wickham? I can't remember if it was another one, but he definitely set up a few chances from just literally his own box. It's just incredible. Honestly, like, whoever taught him that, it's just like, it feels so simple as well. But like, I mean, I don't want to get carried away with myself, but honestly, you would see Edison doing that, wouldn't you? Like, you would see him get the ball at the edge of the end of his box and try and find one of the runners in behind the back line and try and ping it over the top to them. So it's a genius move, honestly. It's absolutely genius. I think it would be a real threat as well. It's going to be like, how do you defend like something like that? Because it's kind of an instigator to sort of push teams back anyway. Because we've seen a couple of times last season where he does have the ball at the edge of his box, and he is going to look for a pass to try and go, and Anderson's running, and then whoever's playing off that right hand side, probably Jay actually, because he goes a bit wide out sometimes and comes back in. But then he wouldn't do it, and all the defenders would push back. I think he did it well at Huddersfield, actually. There was a couple of times where he did that. And then you move your players forward and you start pushing them into the box then as well. So, like, honestly, it's genius, honestly. It's just perfectly executed as well. Like, there's never a time where his pass out to the wide players running in is, like, slightly sloppy or, it's going out of play or whatever. We've had so many goalkeepers like that before where it's, like, being over the top of the back and it's just, like, fucking up for a fucking corner at that point.
It's not now.
Exactly, yeah. Oh God, don't, because I've just remembered it as well. Neil Lethbridge's fucking long kicks as well. So,
yeah.
Jeez Louise, yeah. But yeah, I mean, so much to look forward to. I can't remember what we're talking about now.
just
a little
like
bit
I
of
suppose the
tangent.
Ipswich game and like areas of the pitch where we're strong and potentially ones where you could strengthen as well, because I suppose we could carry now this on to transfer talk.
That's
And
a good point. Yeah.
with Blues Ipswich coming up, it's interesting, isn't it, that you wrap on. It seems to be between the two teams and looks like he's chosen Ipswich.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see, obviously, by the time this episode does go out, who he has chosen, if he has chosen anyone. I would probably put my money on him going to Ipswich at the moment, just because of the way that the talks are going about. And also, as well, I don't know, because obviously there's rumours that we've actually put a bid in to purchase him now for about £6 million. And I don't know, actually. I don't know whether he'd be willing to do that just at the moment, Akpom, because like if he's a player who's trying to find his own form again, and he had a fantastic season at Middlesbrough,
Yeah.
back in the 22-23 season. But like, I don't know, maybe he's just trying to test the waters, because like if he goes and he doesn't like it or whatever, you might want to just try a loan spell or something like that. So maybe he's not quite ready for like a proper permanent move. But I suppose also at the same time, it does put the ball in Ipswich's park a little bit, because if they then sort of worry about that, well, they've put a bid in, do we now put a bid in, that sort of thing. It's a bit of mind game chess really by the board, I suppose. So yeah, interesting one. I wouldn't mind him at the Blues, but also at the same time, I don't know whether what's the other guy's name? Is it Dux? It's Marvin Dux, the other guy. I don't know how different a striker he is, because obviously I think we're still linked with him as well. So I don't know if there is any difference between those two strikers. Obviously, I don't really watch where Marvin Dux plays, but obviously know a little bit about Akpom. So I don't know, are they similar strikers? Are they not? I'm not entirely sure, but it'd be interesting to see, because obviously we've got Kyogo, we've got Stansfield. I was about to say we've got Alfie May as well. That's not right, is it? That's a bit of a shame.
No more.
No more. Oh. I'm glad to see that he's scoring goals for Huddersfield, though. But yeah, interesting. What do you make to it all?
So going back to what we said about like Dutch and Akpom, where I think they're different in the way that Akpom is smaller than Dutch. Like Dutch is a bit more of like a physical threat. I think offers a bit more of an all-round game, whereas Akpom, his main strength is putting the ball in the back of the net. Hence why he got 28 goals last time he was in the Championship. And for me, like, there's no doubt that if we got Akpom, we'd be a better side. Like his goal scoring record in the Championship with Middlesbrough, Golden Boot winner last time he was there. Yes, I feel like we'd be a stronger outfit, but I also feel that both alternatives are very good. Like with Marvin Dutch, I think someone that's played for the German national team, scored goals in the Bundesliga, and also a cheaper price as well. Like I feel that both certainly have their pros, and whichever one we get, I feel like I'd be happy with, because as well the recruitment process with Blues now, I would say more often than not they get it right. Like, they get
so
it
much
right
trust in them now
with who they bring in, and that they would have searched extensively, and they've got a big recruitment team now with like Craig Garner as part of it and Mike Rigg, and also speaking with Chris Davis, I'm sure as well, to make sure that the players we get in are the right ones for the system as well. And I saw Chris Davis actually speak a bit about Kyogo, because it looks like Jay Stansfield will start up front and not Kyogo for that first game. And what Chris Davis is saying about Kyogo is that he's a bit different to the approach that we had in League One, where obviously in League One we had like a lot of the ball, and with Kyogo at Celtic he would have had his team have a lot of the ball and then him score. But within the Championship we're expected to have a bit less of the ball, so maybe the style is going to change a little bit going forward, and Kyogo is not going to fit into that straight away. So it's going to take a bit more time for him to adapt. So he won't be someone that's chucked in the team straight away, but I feel like when he does get chucked into the team, he will perform. And it's this recruitment process where, again, with Fujimoto, like, he's not been put straight into the team, but eventually he will do. And he featured for the academy team against West Brom, and we won 5-1.
Exactly,
So there's definitely a player there. It's just about the right time to bring them in. And I'm sure that, with these two options, they're the right player that fit into the system. And it will probably take time. But yeah, I'm confident about our transfer business. And I still feel like there's a couple transfers that we're going to make until the end of the window as well.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I think Fujimoto's coming off the back of an injury, so I feel that's why he's been in the academy team. But yeah, completely agree. I think Kyogo actually is one of those sort of strikers, because obviously I think he is a striker now from what I've been seeing. I would kind of hope he is as well, because if he's going to be number 9, again, my traditionalism on football numbers, then he needs to be a proper fox in the box type of striker. But I think he'll be a really good option to use off the bench, obviously, but also as well to use as a starting player in some of those sort of I would describe like quite heavy months. You know what I mean? We've got a lot of games and everything, sort of like midweek games away or something like that, where teams are preparing for Stansfield and Anderson and Gray, and then you put Kyogo in there as a bit of a spanner in the works. You know what I mean? So it's like he brings something kind of similar, but something else that you've got something else to think about. It's like Kyogo. Did we do our research on this guy? Did we know what he's going to bring to it and everything? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see and everything. But yeah, I would probably say so. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like I think we've got to change up our style. But also at the same time, we were talking a bit about this last season, weren't we? Like when we do play teams in the championship next season, like what are we gonna? Because obviously we sat back a lot at the start of the season, you know, and then obviously had a lot of the ball, and then teams sat way back. Then afterwards, you know, like they just camped inside the box for pretty much the whole game, and then we were like, well, this obviously won't work in the championship because obviously when teams try and come at us, you know, we'll just counter on them. So maybe that's how we do it. I mean, like sit back a little bit, absorb some of the pressure, and then get some all-stop passes in behind, and then a couple of linked-up passes between Water and Doyle, and get them quickly into the strikers. Because there was a clip on Twitter the other day, actually, where the ball starts with all-stop at the back here.
Yeah, I saw it.
It works its way through, yeah. It's just a wonderful move.
That was a great move, and just goes to show, you know, what they've been working on, and also the new players being part of that move as well. And I was really impressed with Asai Samuel at right back as well.
Yeah,
really good competition, I think, for Ethan led, and it's going to be interesting to see who gets that starting role. But yeah, I like that bit of business because it's someone that has played football under Jose Mourinho, high pressure situations. You know, Fenerbahce. It's very hostile in Turkey, the way that football is there, and yeah.
Whatever you have to remind him, he's got an actual mural of himself punching somebody. It's amazing.
There you go.
Honestly.
There you go. It'll fit in then.
Exactly. I think someone I don't know whether I've imagined this or not, but I feel like someone has actually done like an AI image of Asai Samuel, but as Paul Mitchell running on the pitch and punching Grealish. Okay. I think I remember seeing that. I don't think I've imagined that. I swear I've seen that on Twitter somewhere. It's funny that was. But yeah, I would agree actually. I think Asai Samuel actually is probably the better choice to start, particularly with pre-season as well. But also as well, I think it's good competition for Laird as well, because I don't think he's had someone in the last few seasons he's been with Blues to really sort of give him like a sort of similar competition. You know, Samsed's great right back, you know, and I do think maybe we won't, I'm not entirely sure. We might keep hold of him. We might loan him out or whatever. But he's not on the same kind of level as Ethan Laird. He's a different type of right back. But Asai Samuel is pretty much a carbon copy of him, really. You know, he does exactly the same sort of down the line sort of runs. Very quick, very agile. He's good with his feet. Yeah, so I think like giving Ethan Laird some of that sort of identical competition to try and compete with yourself almost. It's like trying to best yourself almost, isn't it? It's like in the gym, you've got to be working harder than Asai Samuel. It's all good competition, isn't it? You know, so it'll be interesting. But also at the same time, there's a bit of harsh reality that comes in with football, is that if Asai Samuel is performing really well and the team's winning, he probably won't get in. So that's the real difficulty, is that is, you know, you kind of got to hope in a kind of, I don't even think of the right words, terms to describe it, but just like if he gets injured, then like, he's got an opportunity to get back in the team and everything. So it's an interesting one.
Me leaving as well, isn't it? Like where you know that he's not going to get the minutes that he would have wanted, right? And it would have been great to see him have a crack at the championship, and especially with his story, you know, learning more about his family in the documentary as well. It would have been nice to see him in the championship, but the way that we're operating and the players that we're being linked with, you know, it's a different step that we're taking. And Alfie May, at the end of the day, he was signed to get us out of League One, and we've done that perfectly. So he's done his job, you know, and best of luck to him at Huddersfield. And I'm sure with this team, you know, Chris Davis will think thoroughly about who he wants to keep around and who he thinks has a future at the club as well, and looking to strengthen where we can do. And I think left back could be somewhere where Alex Cochrane needs a bit of competition. Not to say that, you know, Cochrane shouldn't start. Of course he should. Like, you know, missed consistent last season, but again, it's just that competition, you know, having someone right there that could displace you, you know, after a few bad games, and just having that environment where every position's up for grabs because that's what all good teams do. And another number 10 as well, I think would be excellent. Hence why being linked with the strikers that we have, that can play a bit deeper.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I've just remembered one of the things that Jack said last season, because obviously the Blues put out that tweet about Alex Cochrane being Mr. Consistent and called him the postman. And then he puts one bad cross in the first game back after that tweet gone out. And then Jack said next to me, he goes, "Here you are, the postman." It's like, it's one bad cross, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Miserable twat, honestly. But yeah, I completely agree. I feel like, the difference in striker quality as well, because like Kyogo's something similar to Jay, but quite different as well because of his experience. I think he brings that sort of level-headedness as well, doesn't he? Because he's one of the few players in the team that's performed on such a big scale before, in Old Firm derbies and Champions League games. I think only Iwata can really compete with that type of resume almost. But yeah, I mean, like definitely a sort of a similar but a similar bit of competition for Alex Cochrane. He's definitely number one choice at the moment. It'd be absolutely ridiculous to say that he's not going to be starting on Friday night. It does make me wonder though, is Lee Buchanan going to be coming back? Because I really like the kid, but if he's going to be having too many injuries, we've seen this before with different players. We've seen this with potentially Hansen as well, going out on loan to Blackpool, actually, is that he's had injury problems before. So, I mean, that might just keep him out of the team, do you know what I mean? So, like, it's a weird one, really. So, I do hope that Buchanan comes back and, starts putting in the performances that he was doing when he was fit. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I can't remember what injury he's got now. Is it like an ACL or something like that?
Yeah, well, he done it against Blackpool, didn't he? And he's been out since then, and we've got no real update as to when he's going to return. I think Scott Wright's still injured as well, isn't he? That's another one that is.
He got injured at Reading, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like with them two, it may be that they get sent out on loan to get some game time and then come back and assess the situation then. But like for that Ipswich game, I feel like the squad is in pretty good shape, especially now because we've got 9 substitutes as well at our disposal. There's a lot of options to choose from and a lot of players to try and keep happy.
9 subs. God. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah. No, I would agree, actually. I feel like, because I think that team that played against Forest is our starting lineup now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. Maybe 1 or 2 changes, but I'd say that the squad's in pretty good shape, especially because like a couple of weeks ago, I was a bit worried where, Stansfield didn't play, did he? Or Paik, I think, was missing as well. And there was like some worries about whether they were going to make the first day of the season, but it looks like they are now.
Yeah, I would say so, definitely. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Should we go for a quick score prediction for the game on Friday?
Let's do it.
For?
So on my match preview, like I can't change it now because the preview's gone out. And after hearing you say about how optimistic you are and like very little concern about us losing.
Hang on a minute, what did you say in your preview?
I did say 2-1 Ipswich. I honestly said I said 2-1 Ipswich, and I don't know why I've got this feeling, but it's just I don't want to use that team. I don't want to use the T word and not Tom Brady, right? The amount of optimism that there is around the place, and there's still a lot of moving parts to figure out. And I feel like it could be one of those games where we do give a good account of ourselves, like we do score. But yeah, I feel like it could be a game where, Ipswich kind of showcase what we're aiming for in the Championship and the standards that we've got to set. So not to say that we're going to play bad. It's just a thing where I feel like it'll be a competitive game, but it's just that Ipswich have that little bit of edge over us. And it will be that maybe in the rematch later on in the season that we grow as a team and can really then get points off them.
See, I think a little bit the other way around, actually. I feel like this is the one where we are going to be on top. I feel like later on in the season, Ipswich are going to have grown in that way. And obviously, when do we play each other? It's sort of April time, actually, isn't it? So
yeah, both during crucial parts of the season,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like this is our time to get a big win on the score sheet. I'll say that again. I think this is our time to get like the big win on the board early on, and then I think the one later on in the season is going to be a real tricky test. Really, you have to really survive that one. Depending on how the season goes, obviously, but I would imagine that we're both going to be competing for promotion spots by the end of the season, and when we play each other later on. But I feel like this is the one where we're going to really, surprise a few people, So I wouldn't say we're going to win like dramatically or emphatically. I would say just like a 1-0. I feel we can sneak it. I feel in a weird way, actually. I feel like we probably would take the lead early on and then kind of hold on for dear life almost in a weird way. Because like with it being a bit up and all over the place, and obviously with Blues fans like really up. I mean, I'm fucking up for it already, and it's only Tuesday, so like it's gonna be a mental night. People are gonna get in from work. It's gonna be all rushing about and everything, and then everybody's gonna be super pumped. Fireworks are going off and everything. Back in the championship, the Sky cameras are there, so everything looks different on when it's being broadcasted and everything. I feel like the way that we just attack that game, we'd probably get an early goal and then just see how it go on from there, really. But I feel like something close along those lines, really. Watch them blow us away now and win 3-0. But
I hope you're right, to be honest.
yeah,
Like it's that head versus heart, isn't it?
yeah, I think so. I feel like my head's. See, I'll explain why I think that we're going to win the game on Friday, because I think we'll lose to Blackburn, because we always lose to Blackburn. Honestly,
We'll have like 10,000 people going there.
Honestly, every time we go to Ewood Park, we're always like, yeah, we're doing really well at the moment. Got a bit of a bounce back in our step and everything. For the last time we went under Rooney, I was like, yeah, Blackburn aren't doing particularly great at the moment, and then they can absolutely thump us. Like, we always lose at Ewood Park, honestly. Like, we do. Like, we play really well. I remember under Eustace, actually, we had like fucking 5 million shots, and then what's his name, Kaminsky, when he was in goal for them.
Yeah.
He saved he saved every single one of them, honestly, and like they won the game 2-1. It's just like how, honestly, like we were such the better side, but that's why I think we'll win the first game, because we probably will struggle against Blackburn. I'm really hoping we win both games, because it will just set the season perfectly up. But I don't know. I just can't see it happening against Blackburn. I can see it happening against Ipswich, but when it comes to Blackburn, it's those little annoying games. Honestly, it's like Watford or QPR or something like that. We come up against them. It's like just that they'll find something just to sneak it over the line against us. Like I could feel it coming, really. But yeah, I'd go 1-0 Blues. We're gonna go for goal scorers. Did you go for goal scorers?
Who do I think will get the goal for us? We've been speaking a lot about Keshi Anderson. I'll go with him. I feel like he'll score.
Yeah, I feel like that's a possibility, actually. I mean, I again said this earlier in the podcast, but just surprised by him every single time. Because I thought he would eventually fade into the backgrounds of the squad. I thought he would sort of be kind of where Emil Hansen's at. I felt like he would be the player that would take that spot, and then Anderson would be going on loan to Blackpool. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like taking that step down again, but in a weird way, he's kind of pushing us all forward in that sort of direction, really. Again, like the stuff he was trying against Forest at the weekend was just like, this is brilliant, honestly. Like the confidence the guy has at the moment is just off the charts, really. So yeah, long may that continue. But I could see him scoring, to be fair, actually. It's a bit of a down the left-hand side and try and cut something in on that right foot of his and try and get a shot in. But yeah, it will be a bit of a scrappy game, I reckon, Friday night as well at times. There'll be real hairy moments where there's like stuff being cleared off the line and shit like that, putting things forward and trying to hold on. And there might be a bit of a breaking point between a couple of the players, a bit of tussling here and there. So
I'll
it'll be interesting.
If Ashley Young starts, he will get.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I think it's going to be a cracking game either way. Even if we don't win it, I think it's going to be a fantastic game. As for many of the games this season, actually, there's a couple I'm really looking forward to. Derby of Boxing Day is just perfect. What a fantastic day. Thank you to the supercomputer for doing that. For any of you listening on audio, I was using the little quotation marks there. But yeah, amazing stuff, really. I can't wait to get going, honestly. I've been waiting for months for this. So yeah, we'll be again this season on Blues Focus on hand to document every single second of what hopefully will be another record-breaking season for the Blues. Hopefully this time next season, we'll be talking with as a Premier League side. We can all dream, we can all hope. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. And again, we're going to be here on Blues Focus, vlogging everything, podcasting everything, bringing you up to date with all the news and everything. Me and Sam have been working like workhorses over this summer to try and get as much content out as possible, whilst trying to have a holiday at the same time.
As much content out as we can, the limited amount of football being played.
Oh no, it's been hard at times, but yeah, it's been enjoyable at the same time. But yeah, we should say as well, we are up for the trying to get nominated in the Football Content Awards. So if you want to nominate us, the link will be in the description. There's a couple of personal details to fill in first, but be sure to make be sure to nominate Blues Focus in the Best Club Content Creator Football League category. And then there's the what?
There's a lot of C's in that. Best Club Content Creator category.
Oh, bloody hell, honestly. I feel like I've said the word season like about 10 million times this one podcast. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I can't wait for this season to get started. There are so many amazing things. We should also mention, actually, the giveaway that we're doing for the signed Djukovic shirt ends, I believe, before the Ipswich game. So be sure to get your raffle tickets in for that. It is honestly like a really good bit of giveaway stuff. I think obviously all the players have signed it. Tom Wagner signed it. Duke has signed it, and you also get it framed and sent to you. And maybe a couple of other things. We haven't worked that out. I might clip that bit out if Mr. Blues Focus himself decides not to keep it in. He had a moan at me the other day for the reaction video we did at Port Vale. Not much of a moan, but he said like, good video and everything, guys, but you completely forgot to mention who scored the goals because he wasn't televised as well.
Oh yeah, it's just like general chat, and it just feels like we're in the car, like with your dad and brother.
Honestly, how the hell those vlogs and those reaction videos get any views? Honestly, we don't talk about anything. We don't talk about football at all.
What's funny actually, because like my dad watched it, yeah, and he said, "I've just watched Tommy's video. He didn't really speak about the game much, did he?" And I was like, "Nah, they just talk about whatever."
We never do, honestly. I mean, like me and you obviously do, because like we couldn't come on a podcast and then just talk about my mom making chips at that point. You know, it's just.
I don't think that would make the Amazon documentary.
No, exactly. Yeah. The Whisperer are not going to be sat there thinking this is really good content. We can include this, like all the dramatic scenes and everything. Birmingham are back in the Championship. You know, maybe it'd be good to get some chips in the ground. You know, like, that's a good cup of tea. That is.
That is what the Americans want to know.
Exactly. Yeah. If you want to know what us actual like hardcore Blues fans are actually talking about before a big game, we're just talking about general day-to-day stuff. I can't remember what I was talking about at the Forest game the other day, but it was honestly, it was so mundane. It was actually making myself laugh. It was ridiculous. I swear we're talking about just like the way we were emptying the bins out in the garden or something like that. It's like, because we have a big compost bin at the end of the garden, just emptying out and, you know, fertilizing the grass and everything. I was just sat around and then thinking, oh yeah, there's a game on in a minute. We probably should be focusing on that a little bit. Oh God, but yeah, that is.
By the way,
exactly, yeah, yeah. I mean, like that's what's like going to the football with us. So, yeah, subscribe. But we've nattered on for about over an hour now, so we're going to wrap this one up. Oh yeah, Dion Sanderson, by the way, has gone out on loan to Derby, so that's an interesting one.
Derby
it's just come through half an hour ago. So that's probably something to end on. Dion Sanderson leaving for Derby. But yeah, we'll leave you with that interesting thought. Maybe you'll be the biggest shining light for Derby in this season. Who knows?
Definitely scoring against us this season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because if Christian Bielik scores an overhead kick against us, then Dion.
If he's allowed to play against us,
a scorpion kick. Exactly. Yeah. No, precisely that. But yeah, thank you, Sam, for joining me tonight. It's been a good conversation as usual. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to the Blues Focus YouTube channel. Be sure to check out all the links in the description as well. There's absolutely loads of them nowadays. I do forget about them, to be fair. But yeah, like and subscribe and keep right on.
Keep right on, guys.